Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Show, where we take a look at how you approach your work and personal life and how we can make the most out of both of them. A weekly get-together where we get real about self-improvement and development as we all make this not-so-easy journey through life. Our discussions will cover ideas and concepts from how to grow your career to how to lead your family towards prosperity and happiness. We don't pretend to know it all, and the doctor is the first to be vulnerable, discussing his own weaknesses, both past and present. This is about growing together and having some fun while we discuss what is happening in the crazy world we live in and how to make the most of it. Let's strive for awesome together. Let's get after it. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dr. Leadership Podcast. Hope you're having an awesome day. Hope you had an awesome week. I had an incredible week, and I can't wait to talk about it a little bit further, but I got to go out and see a bunch of people I had not spent time in person with, some for like 4 years, and I'll talk a little bit more in detail about that, but had just an awesome week. It's our first new episode for the new calendar year. Took a couple weeks off. My wife and I made a long-awaited trip to Puerto Vallarta. Spent some time down in Mexico. Going to talk a little bit about that, some tie-ins today. And enjoyed the Christmas holiday and the New Year's, and was actually down in Puerto Vallarta for New Year's, actually looking at some property down there, beautiful places, but we did not pull the trigger on anything. But the last episode we touched on was around the basic negotiation skills and confidence, and I'm gonna jump into that in a minute. Today's episode is about enthusiasm and how it's a key to success in anything in life. And I want to remind everybody that early access to episodes and things of that nature can be found at our website. You can sign up for the membership content. We can be found at www.drleadershipresults.com. Click on subscribe. It's $5 a month. You get early access to things. I reposted the Toby Stansel interview last week that had all sorts of good feedback on the first time I released it. And it was an item that you could get early access to if you belonged and had the membership. So everybody had New Year's resolutions and all of the different things they want to work on for self-development. And if self-development was one of your resolutions in any manner around sales skills or life skills, I hope you pick the Dr. L Show to give a chance. You can cancel at any time. Please give us a shot. As I say, often help a brother out. And then also, if you want to give any feedback on prior episodes, new episode ideas, please reach out to our email at drleadershipresults@gmail.com and send us an email. But again, I hope you had an awesome week. As I said, the last episode was around some basic negotiation skills. And one of those I want to hone in on a little bit to set up where I'm going with this episode was around confidence. Confidence is key. There's no doubt. It's very important in all things in life, but it can lean into a space that is detrimental too. And that space is cockiness or overconfidence. There's an old saying, there's a thin line between self-confidence and cockiness, and you don't even want to straddle that. But many times you see this in people that have done a job or a process or been doing something, the same thing for a very long time and have been successful, right? People become complacent with taking on new challenges or approaches, even when the market around them is changing. And that's what I had an awesome week around, and I'll touch a little bit more detail on it, was bringing a bunch of superstars from my organization together and starting some training mechanisms and training programs out in Colorado this week, and just had an awesome week. And really working on enthusiasm was a center point of that. But today's episode pivots towards that enthusiasm word. And enthusiasm, the reason I'm choosing this is because it's around self-development and embracing new things and how critical that is for long-term success, growth in life. Life is way too short to go around in the doldrums of a bad attitude, right? The old saying, if you only can control one thing in life, make sure you control your attitude. It's never been more true in anything in life. I want to talk about my trip to Puerto Vallarta here to start this thing, to give you kind of an example of what made this kind of resonate in my mind. And I call it the Puerto Vallarta Shuffle. And my wife and I have been very fortunate. We have traveled the world. We have been all through Europe, all through the Mediterranean. We have been all through the islands. We've been all over South and Central America. We've been very fortunate in the United States to make some nice trips, been on some wonderful cruises. And we have met some unbelievably impactful people in our lives, the local cultures. And one thing that I can say about Puerto Vallarta is that there is more hustle and positive attitude there than maybe anywhere else we've ever visited. The enthusiasm of those people is just nuts. The people are simply amazing. Their desire to please, to do good, to work hard, to build relationships was something that was literally awe-inspiring. We had a guy named Umberto who handled our breakfast every morning with us. We'd go in and sit down, and you'd go in and get your omelets made and all these types of things. Umberto, and several others. Eliu, Eliu was another one that helped us. Simply amazing. But man, the smile on their faces. My wife and I would come walking in, and the hostess is talking to us, and Umberto would be waving where he is in the section in the restaurant for the day. And man, we exchanged cell numbers and have exchanged positive emails, and I'm sure some of it was about tips and trying to work the crowd a little bit. But we really developed a really positive attitude about the people, because it wasn't just Umberto in the restaurant. It was all the people everywhere. We had a gentleman named Carlos that was our quote-unquote butler. Not too hoity-toity, I promise you, but he took care of our every needs. And they had a huge New Year's party. And from 10 o'clock at night until 7 o'clock the next morning when we woke up, they converted all the pools into stages. They had 4 live bands. They had taken out all the pool chairs and had set up tables for this New Year's bash, fireworks on the beach, everything. And so all the staff stayed and worked all night, and then worked all the next day, then worked the party that night, and then we're back the next day. And every single one of them always had a smile on their face, enthusiastically embracing every single day. The simple life that they lead allows a lot of stresses to not be on their bodies. And whenever you're on vacation, you alleviate a lot of stress in your life, right? About day 3, you start to get into the local, don't worry about the time. You start talking about time by what day is it, how many days we have left becomes a concern with 3 or 4 remaining. But man, the Puerto Vallarta Shuffle really enlightened me on how important for our own well-being enthusiasm is. So I had an awesome week, as I told you, and looking at life with joy in your heart will always bring more days of happiness than sadness. Enthusiasm, positive attitude, happiness is contagious. Laughter is contagious. Have you ever gotten the giggles with a friend? And it's always at the wrong time. It's always in an important meeting or something, and you can't keep the joy in. You just keep losing it. Whatever was funny has long since gone out of your memory banks, and now it's just about the giggles. It's contagious. And what a great feeling. The endorphins and the dopamine and all the different things that are hitting your bloodstream from enthusiasm and from positive attitude are a great fuel for your own development and your own successes in life. Be joyous around your kids. Be joyous around your spouse, etc. Self-accountability needs to be approached the same way, with enthusiasm. Be accountable for your own results. Don't blame others, right? Actually, there's an old Chinese proverb that's really good about this, and it goes something like this. A man who blames others has a long way to go in his journey. A man who blames himself is halfway there, and a man who blames no one has arrived. So don't look for others. What I take out of that proverb is, first of all, don't blame other people when things don't go good, but also don't look for others to resolve your issues. especially when you're talking about personal success and development and growth. You got to be self-accountable. Now, the blaming no one is when you have finally arrived, it says, right? The man who blames no one has arrived. You're in control of your own decisions and enthusiasm. So don't blame yourself. That is just really, what that is that's procrastination. Well, I just didn't do it right this time. I'll do it better next time. No, man. If you know what you need to do better, then do better. If you know that things around you are moving in a different direction and you want to be a part of it and you want to continue your successful, let's say you're talking about work now, you got to embrace the new. So this new training program I'm in the middle of launching across the country started last week. And it's focused to driving people to self-development and embracing new things, new solutions. We have a number of new products that have come on big, our largest products. Some of these products are $2 million. Well, actually, by the time you put some supplemental things on it that need it to run the complete applications, $4.5 million for single units. We've got 4 of those. The least expensive is $100,000 per unit. The most expensive, as I said, is can be upwards of $5 million per placement. Sometimes these things are multiple units going in, and how we drove data into these solutions in the past, how the workflow worked in the past. Now maybe it's cloud-based on some of the solutions that we're pulling data from, etc. It's all changed. The reps and the specialists and all those people that I get to enjoy calling, my coworkers every week, they need to develop. Time moves forward, not back. So they all need to understand they need to control this journey that we're on. And it's been long in the tooth coming, right? I had asked for this training really starting over a year ago. And of course, a training like this is very expensive. We're spending $500,000 to train a couple hundred reps. We got some vendors involved, which was wonderful. Appreciate their support because we also sell their solutions. We're an integrator as a company, and they partnered up as well. But it was really interesting as I was getting ready to do so I kicked off each morning, and I really focused on trying to motivate and drive enthusiasm here because I've got a very tenured organization. I don't mean old, some are, but we have a very tenured sales organization. Everybody's been very successful in this business for a long time, some more than others. And you fight these doldrums and people that aren't willing to lean into new opportunities. And what really resonated with me, so I developed my kickoffs and kind of the what is this, and I actually called it a journey we're on the next few days as I was kicking it off with the first 50 that came in. I'm bringing in 4 groups of 50. I've got a whole committee that has helped in the development. I've got subject matter experts that are coming in and training. I've got vendors that are a part of it. I've got a vendor show each afternoon. I'm catering in food to the location so we can stay focused. But I really needed to kick this thing off with a bang. And the day, so I arrived a day early just to see how everything was set up. All the signage was up. I mean, we've got a several 100,000 square feet. We've got 1 million square feet out in Denver or in Boulder that we share with some others. But we've got a couple 100,000 square feet just dedicated to our products and solutions. And I was kind of doing the walk around, making sure that everything was ready for the event. And I had a leader that I have a tremendous amount of respect for, and she called me beforehand, and we call this training regiment we're doing the power of knowledge. I talked about this on negotiation, right? You have to be informed to be a great negotiator. You've got to have more knowledge than everybody else in the engagement about their needs and requirements and problems that you're solving, but also the industry that you're in and the solutions and where that industry is taking people. You've got to be knowledgeable. So we call it the Power of Knowledge 2.0, actually. We did this one other time 11 years ago. Yeah, 11 years, way too long. But she called me up and she said, hey, I just want you to know, man, what I'm seeing that's resonating, the field is lacking enthusiasm. Think of the last few years and how we've all been impacted. This is me talking now, not her. And it really resonated with me. And I had put some plans together and some concepts, but it reaffirmed that I was at least sniffing on the right trail here, right? I was thinking about what I was seeing of the problems, and it resonated with me that at least I was onto something. Not as close to the field as she is, and she's very, this particular leader is very big into what's new and stressing to people the importance of self-development. So a big fan of hers. But think of the last few years and what has impacted enthusiasm in the world. Now, this goes to our personal lives. This goes to our business lives. This goes to our local communities, etc. But how about the COVID lockdowns? I mean, it finally in 2023, we ended the 3-year 2020. What I mean by that is the year 2020 with COVID and lockdowns and everything, that was the longest year ever. And to get back to 90% normalcy took until mid-2023. Yeah, the new work from home environments coming out, that shocked and awed everybody, right? Now you've got a problem where people have no enthusiasm to go back into the office. Hey, I kind of like this working in my PJs. Certain jobs don't get to enjoy that. Service jobs, they got to show up at the customer's locations and fix whatever's ailing it. Our business on the office environment side has been largely impacted. The entire industry has. But that new home environment had impacts on people and on relationships. I had not seen some of these people, this first 50 group, in 4 years. In-person relationships are far stronger than no matter how good the camera is on the video. You can be enthusiastic, but you don't get the vibe, and you don't get to share the energy, and you don't get to pull off of other people's energy and inspire yourself and to get jacked up like you do when it's in person. Psychological impacts of the political disinformation campaigns that are going on. Everything is negative, negative, negative. We got multiple wars going on. Everybody's blaming each other. No self-accountability. So enthusiasm was low. People are worn down. So it's time to take control. That's what I'm saying is take control of your own attitude. Take control of your own joys in life. Decide to look at it as sunshine, right? When there's darkness, look for stars. When it's raining, look for rainbows. You've got to adjust your outlook to get the most out of anything in life, whether it's relationships with your loved ones, whatever it might be. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. So enthusiasm and this kickoff of this training mechanism and how I want to bring this to everyone about their personal life and business lives. First of all, ongoing development never stops. You have to, as an individual contributor, as a leader, as a father, as a mother, whatever might be the case, you got to continue to take on how the world is morphing around us and change how you go to market, how you engage your family, how you engage your children, how you engage your work, how you engage your customers and prospects. It's always evolving. How I started in this business 34 years ago and how we do it today don't even seem like they're on the same planet. I actually told some stories in the kickoff. I used to be able to tell people how excited I am that the top of the copier doesn't move back and forth when it makes prints. We have the scanner that actually moves back and forth inside the actual box. I remember when auto two-sided printing was a holy cow moment of the industry. I remember when we went to plain paper faxes. I remember when fax machines came out. We got rid of teletype. I'm old. I actually turn 56 tomorrow. I'm recording this on Saturday. So everyone write down that date and send me happy birthday notes. But everybody has to continue to lean into development. So in my kickoffs, I pushed everyone on, it is up to you how successful this training is going to be. Is it going to light a fire under you to do more from it? Now, first of all, let's face it, and I set this up too. I've got you here for 2 days, and I'm putting you through 12 different sessions. I've got 4 new hardware products. You're getting 50, 60 minutes each engagement. I'm not handing you the keys to the kingdom in this training moment. What I'm handing you are the availability to have relationships with those that can help you continue your development after we leave here today. I can get your appetite started. I can get the Pavlov of the desire to learn more about something started, but it's up to you. It's the old Smokey the Bear. It's up to you to prevent forest fires. It's up to you to make the most out of the gifts of training or development that people bring to you. It's up to you on will it light a fire under you, or will it just become, another event that you had to go to. I remember when they made me go to that. I know how to sell. I don't need their help. I know how this business works. Well, tell me about it, Skippy, because today's business isn't anything like it was 10 years ago. It's changed. And until you open your mind up to that you have to change on the journey, you're holding yourself back. And that was the other part. It was a multi-part kickoff. I did it for 20, 25 minutes each day. But I really pressed on people that it's not up to me or the presenters or whoever you're engaging with or your friends or your families that love you to get you to make the appropriate changes over whatever the obstacle is you're facing. Like me deciding to stop drinking wasn't up to my wife or my friends or my family. It was up to me. Getting in better shape or being healthy, that isn't up to anybody else. Your doctor, I just had my annual physical last week. Pretty good update. Got a few things to work on. It's not up to the doctor to make those things happen. He says, we might think about this test someday down the road to see. I don't need high blood pressure or cholesterol medicine. Cholesterol is a little high. But he said we'd know if you will need the medicine or if this really isn't having an impact on you. I'm just barely outside the good range. And I said, well, what can we do, to see if it's going to be a problem? He goes, well, we can do this calcium scan. I said, sign me up. He goes, it's not covered by insurance. Well, how much is it? $69. I can invest $69 in myself. Gives me some more information. I think what's going to happen is it's going to solidify in my own mind that I got to make a few more adjustments in life. It's great that I don't drink. It's given me a sweet tooth. I got to figure out how to handle that sweet tooth. It's not up to the doctor what I do, how I invoke enthusiasm on making that change. Change is hard. But when you put inspiration over yourself and say, I'm going to do it, at least in my case, I'm a very driven person. When I make up my mind, good or bad, get the hell out of my way. That's just how I roll. That's just me. That's been very positive in my life, and it has some detrimental effects too. Believe it or not, there's people out there that don't like me and my attitude, my approaches to life. That's okay. Guess what? Doesn't bother me a bit. So you have to be driven yourself to take on this training, to take on this change that you're trying to drive in life. Enthusiasm and results are tied together. Results will vary depending on the user's approach to the utilization of the tools that we're being given and whatever we're talking about in life. Works in all aspects. Are you enthusiastic about your faith, whatever it is, even lack thereof? I hope you change your mind on that. I don't think anything just happened out of nothing here without some grand intervention. It's not a guy with a beard in the clouds. That's not what I believe in or my faith. But there's something bigger at work here. How about marriage and relationships? Are you enthusiastically engaged? My wife and I are on a very good, there's ebbs and flows in marriage. Our relationship is extremely strong. It's wonderful. I'm very, very fortunate. My kids and I, great relationship. There's challenges there, right? Because I'm that pushy person that says, work on this and work on that. Because I care for them. I love them. I want them to be self-sufficient. It comes from a good spot. Their enthusiasm always don't match my enthusiasm on what I'd like to see them be doing. Now, I always have to remind myself when I was 26 or 23, my brain wasn't in the same place as it is now either. And I'm not saying my brain's in all the right spots. So if my kids are listening to this episode, I'm not saying you're doing everything wrong and I got everything right. I am the first to admit I don't have it all figured out. Half the shit I talk about on this show is because I made a mistake and I learned the lesson. So I'm trying to pass that on enthusiastically sometimes. And as a leader, you will have people that aren't as enthusiastic about the things you're asking of them as others. So we as leaders have to figure out how to get those people more enthusiastic. But this Chinese proverb I come back to, blaming others, long way on the journey, blaming yourself halfway there, blaming no one, you've arrived, can't be more true about anything in life. Enthusiasm, self-accountability, pushing yourself, driving for the results are key. So I gave an analogy about, and I've given this analogy before on the show, I believe. I use a lot of sports analogies. So I've got a bunch of very tenured people. You know, the average income in the room is probably $2 billion, a couple $100,000 a year. These people are successful. They lead great lives. But my expectation of them is, man, you could be making $350. I've got people making $6, $7. This year, a couple making $8. Those people are very enthusiastic. Those overperformers have leaned into change more than those that haven't. There's some people on the team that wouldn't be happy with winning the lottery because they'd complain about the taxes. And then there's people like Walter Payton. Walter Payton was a running back for the Chicago Bears. His nickname was Sweetness, and he was sweet. He died way too young. Way too young. But he played for the Chicago Bears, and there were some lean years. But Payton's approach, Walter Payton's approach to learning and developing was a very powerful one. The reason he was so great on such a crappy team was because he did not allow the results of the team to dictate his own personal results. Now, it frustrated him, but he ended up winning a Super Bowl in '85. The '85 Bears. Great, great run. Still mad at his coach, didn't let him score, run in from the 2-yard line to get a touchdown in it, but Walter didn't care about it. But what Walter did, and his enthusiasm about learning and developing, he said this, something like this. It's not verbatim, but I go to practice to learn what I need to practice on my own. He would go to, the story goes, he would go to practice, do his 2.5, 3 hours with the team, film, weight, endurance, running plays. And this is back when the game was still, there's violence in the game today, but no comparison to '85. I mean, there was no protecting the quarterback. There was no unnecessary roughness in the game. If you went across the middle and put your arms up to catch a pass, 2 guys are going to try to take your head off in this era. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm just saying it was a truly different game. But Walter would go to practice for 3 hours, learn what he needed to do, and he'd go home and work more on his endurance, as an example. He had thighs the size of somebody 7 foot tall. He was under 6 foot, maybe 6 foot, 200 pounds, maybe. He would go home and he had a big hill in his backyard. He'd run up and down the hill until he couldn't run any further. He'd start actually vomiting at times. And they said, why do you do this? He goes, for me to be what I know I can be, I need to press myself. Now, I'm not telling everybody to go into their team meetings or go out into their territory on Monday and or on Thursday, or today, since it's Wednesday, this is being released, and work so hard you're causing yourself to get sick. All I'm trying to give you as an example here is to be the best that you can possibly be, you've got to be a little bit uncomfortable. And a good way to get you through uncomfortable is through enthusiasm and an attitude that you will not let anything stand in the way of you. You've got to use the Puerto Vallarta Shuffle of an attitude to get the most out of yourself. The way I have always looked at it is I owe it to my loved one. I owe it to my wife. Besides myself, this is just how my brain works. I want to give my wife the best life that I can possibly give her. I think that's being by her side in good times and bad. I think that's listening. I need to always do better than that. Every husband does. Just ask the wife. I think that I need to be there from a security standpoint. She needs to feel loved. She needs to feel that there's protection over the top of her. She needs to not worry about some things. She is involved, but I tell her, don't worry about finances. I've got us on track. I always tell her when I'm spending money into new investments and those types of things. But I am always trying to be the best I can be for my spouse, my wife. I want to make my mother proud. I want my dad looking down from heaven to be proud. Find other things that are important to you to help drive that enthusiasm, help drive that attitude. I want my siblings to be proud of me. I want my community to look upon me as someone that's a positive attribute to it. I don't need praise. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is you find what's important to you to help drive you to the best you can be. Be enthusiastic. Why would anyone allow this world to bring them down right now? I talked to my mom. She's 94. She's seen a lot. And every week, a lot of the conversation always comes back to the world's really screwed up right now. And I've finally gotten to a point where I say, Mom, there's a lot of things going on good too. The reason everything seems negative is that everything's in the palm of our hands. The storms aren't stronger. The weather's not worse. It's just that we hear about every weather event in every state. When I was growing up, I didn't know what was going on in Jersey for weather. I didn't know what was going on in Denver. I watched the local news and it said it's snowing in Iowa. Well, today, oh gosh, they're having record snows in the mountains of Colorado and California. Just so you know, that's good news. Guess what? Lake Mead has raised its water level by dozens of feet. It's going to raise dozens of more feet. People were complaining that, oh gosh, we haven't got enough snow in the last 5 years. It's terrible. We're running out of water out west. Then they complain when the cycle of weather comes back and refills the reservoirs. So you can allow this stuff to get to you. You gotta allow yourself to turn off negativity. Step away with enthusiasm. Step into change. Embrace things where they're going. Ski where the puck's going to be, as Gretzky said. Most importantly, carry a positive attitude. When you carry a positive attitude, you will be awesome. Keep that shit up. Talk next week.